Right, let's call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Library Commission. Can we do a roll call, please?
Okay, Chairperson Beauchamp.
Here.
Commissioner Walls.
Here.
Commissioner Worsing.
Here.
Commissioner Hannon.
Yes, here.
Commissioner Hall.
Here.
Commissioner Koopman.
Here.
And Commissioner Nafisi, as of this minute, is absent.
Okay. Commissioner Hannon, could you to lead us in a salute to the flag, if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Hannon. I know with the web conference, it isn't that convenient. I'm assuming everybody has gotten the package and had a chance to review the agenda. Can we get a motion to approve the order of agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
That was Commissioner Koopman.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Hannon. I guess I got to do the roll call. So Commissioner Koopman made the motion. Commissioner Nafisi is absent. Commissioner Hannon seconded. Commissioner Walls. Commissioner Hall.
Aye.
And Commissioner Worsing.
Aye.
Thank you. So we approve the order of agenda. I don't believe there's any blue folder items. Is that correct, Director Anderson?
Correct.
So the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Is there any discussion, which includes the approval of affidavit of posting and then the approval of the minutes? Is there any discussion on the minutes? Let me see if you know what, I don't have my, okay. Doesn't look like there's any discussion on the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Koopman, and a second, please.
I can second.
I'm sorry, that was Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Thank you. So if Commissioner Hannon, do you approve the consent calendar?
Yes.
And Commissioner Walls?
Aye.
And Commissioner Worsing?
Aye.
Thank you. We don't have any excluded consent calendar items. Do we have any public participation on non-agenda items?
No.
Okay. So the next item is continued from the previous agenda. This is discussion of strategic planning. Commissioner or Director Anderson?
Oh, did we do approval of the minutes? Did you do that already?
We did. Should I have checked for
Okay.
the comments?
He's like trying to get out of here.
It's a short agenda tonight, so.
Kidding.
Okay, so we are on strategic planning. So as we discussed at the last meeting, one of the items that was suggested for the strategic plan was bringing back a report on either joining the county system or privatizing. And all of the city council people are supposed to prioritize all of the suggestions for the strategic plan. Some of them haven't returned their priorities yet, so it has not come back to council yet. It is not on the agenda for tomorrow, which is the February 2nd meeting. There's a possibility it might not come back until March. They are discussing redoing the dates because technically we're already a few months into the 6 months. So they're looking at, once it's finalized, creating a new 6-month period. So if a library item gets on the plan, for instance, if this report gets on the plan, we're looking at it may not come back until like August or something. So unfortunately, I don't have news on that item as of today, but hopefully I will by our next meeting in April. I know it's significant to all of our discussions, so I just wanted to put that up top.
Yeah. Any questions or comments?
I can imagine. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I be raising
Yeah,
my
go ahead.
hand?
Yeah, no, it's all good, Commissioner Lurch. Go ahead.
I can imagine that there are so many other things on everyone's mind right now that, although a strategic plan is very important, it's just trying to, keep balls in the air. So it's not surprising to me that it's been delayed. So hopefully.
And to that point, we also have elections coming up in March, and we have 3 seats up for election as well.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I was thinking about as I was remembering that the package was coming in was, is this going to be on the agenda, this big topic? And one of the thoughts that went through my mind is if it does come up as an item for discussion and it's like let's just pretend they made that decision next week. And then we would have 2 months before we would have a library commission meeting. One thought that went through my mind is if something does happen and that becomes a topic, is it typical for us to maybe have an emergency meeting to just kind of start chewing on it? Because having a 2-month delay after the city has made a decision to do it feels a little bad.
Well, so let's say the strategic plan is finalized in March, let's say, and it's got a sort of a 6-month window. Now, I don't know what the date would be on this item. And after that, if the report came back and the council was interested in pursuing it, I believe there would be a public hearing. So it would be a process, and I definitely think as the commission, you all probably would want to weigh in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think there'll still be probably pretty good amount of time, I think.
Okay.
We could, if in April, if we feel like we need an extra meeting for that, maybe like a May meeting or something, we could look at that then, or we could have a subcommittee possibly as well.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So basically, there's time. When is what I think what you're saying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, Commissioner Koopman.
There's no button to hit.
So if you open up participants, there's a raise hand button.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
No, it's all good, Commissioner Koopman.
I forgot. But going off what everyone's saying, given the transition in terms of the elections and the biggest thing would be the time frame, right? That's it. I don't think anybody really wants to push this forward in 2 days or 3 days, correct? And it can't happen that way.
Yeah.
Well, it's also it's not voting on whether or not to do it. It's voting on whether or not they want a report brought back, which means, the county would have to make a proposal, and I assume a private company would have to make a proposal, and then that would come back to council for them to look at. And then, like I said, I believe there would need to be a public hearing. So it is a process.
Yeah, Commissioner Koopman, I see your hands raised.
Yeah. Susan, since you used to be with the county, you may or may not know the answer to this. What's the standard return time or return time frame on a RFP when we ask the county for something like this?
That's a good question. I don't know. Now, I know if they do want an RFP, obviously I still know a lot of people who work for the county and who are high up, which would be helpful, I think. But I don't know what that would be. I will say that the company that privatizes libraries is called LS&S, if you all want to start looking into that, doing any research on that. And I will also add, even though this wasn't mentioned during strategic planning, but like I said last time, El Segundo has moved to combining their community services department or their parks and rec department with their library department. Huntington Beach also recently did that, and San Marino just did that. I think they've been working on it for about 3 years. But that's another option that cities have taken in order to have some cost savings.
Commissioner Worsing?
Commissioner Koopman, were you done with your questions?
I'm not done, but I can come back. I want to make sure everyone has a fair time to ask questions, so it's fine.
Yeah. Oh shoot! Now I forgot the question that I was going to ask. I have a hard time understanding what the savings would be by combining Parks and Rec and Library, because it's not like you're going to have the landscapers working in the library or vice versa, so it seems like staffing isn't going to be significantly less. What kinds of savings are realized by combining?
Well, I've heard mixed reports on that. One thing is you would have one department head over both departments, but you would need but under that department head, you would need a manager for both departments. So that may or may not be much savings. There could be facility savings if you combine facilities somehow. Again, that's probably different in different cities. I know in Redondo, they've got the community service building on Artesia that the lease is coming up in a few years. I can't remember exactly which year. And that was one of the things on the 10-year goals that you all came up with, possibly moving some of those functions into the main library, like passport services or some of the functions they do there. So I'm just throwing that out there as, another thing to think about. I don't think the savings may not be huge. It probably depends on how you organize it. There's some probable efficiencies with programming, I think, or could be, because, we do have some overlap in some of the programs that we do with that community services does as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Koopman?
I had two questions. One, I don't remember if you had mentioned which libraries were privatized that are close to us. And
I did last time. It's Riverside County, Moore Park.
I remember Moore Park now, yeah. But that was, still nothing close by, correct?
There's one that's north of, is it in, what's the one that's near San Diego that starts with an E?
Escondido?
Escondido. Yes, Escondido. I was like, Ensenadas, Escondido, yes.
Okay. My other question then would be, in terms of combining different departments, Commissioner Worsing brought up a good point. It doesn't seem like there would be, I'm thinking about just even facilities in terms of buildings and parks. There's so many parks. It's not like you can really spread that cost. Those are fixed costs, I would think, at that point. Right?
Well, I know this, for some background for some of our new commissioners, this had come up prior to me being hired in 2014, and the commission and the Friends group kind of fought to keep it a separate department with its own department head. So that was the last time it came up. But again, our community services director, John LaRock, just left and went to Torrent. So that position's open right now. I don't know how, all the ways the departments could be combined, but it's just another possibility. But like I said, it wasn't brought up during this last strategic planning discussion. It doesn't mean that if they bring it back up at a future council meeting, somebody else might bring that up.
And just a follow-up question. Would it only be Parks and Rec? Would it be maybe possibly another department?
Usually it's the community services with the library. That's what I know of.
Thank you.
Commissioner Walls?
Yeah, just along the same lines with the potential, always looking for cost savings or potential combination of departments. We could also potentially take a look at maybe some shared services for temporary work that needs to be done. A lot of it, of course, is not yet defined, but as we come out of the pandemic and as we have new maybe governmental regulations, physical things that need to happen, maybe there's some efficiencies or some cost savings that could be handled as part of those temporary services. But I agree with Mr. Wersching and Commissioner Hansen and Commissioner Koopman that from a long-term perspective, it's not immediately obvious where those cost savings might come. And hello, Commissioner Nafisi.
And that if this even comes up as an idea, that would probably be another report, I imagine. Like, would there be cost savings and how would that work?
Okay.
Director Anderson, are there any e-comments on this topic?
No, I don't see any.
Any more discussion on the strategic plan and the fact that the city council hasn't made a decision? Commissioner Hall, you had another.
Yeah, I think I'm just wanting to make sure I'm clear. It sounds like we're kind of considering two possible options, which one of them would be more to privatize the library services, the other would be to combine.
So the city council, it maybe is a better way to think of it. The city council's thinking about putting this in the strategic plan, and if they do, then it's something that we'll consider. Director Anderson, maybe you can correct me if that's.
So right now, the city council, the item that came up at council was either looking into either privatizing or going with the county system, the County of Los Angeles system, which is like Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, they're the county. But I just brought up this third option as well, just because that is happening right now with a lot of systems, partially.
Okay, so the thought of combining is more of a like alternative to privatizing or going to be with the county.
That could possibly be another option as well.
Okay. Just wanted to
What
be
I
clear
can
on that.
do is, yeah, I'll definitely, once this gets on the city council agenda again, I'll let you all know that it's going to be on at a meeting in case you want to tune in and conversation.
Okay, any other discussion on this topic? And no e-comments?
No e-comments at this time.
Thank you. Director Anderson, the mid-year budget, please.
Okay, so because of the budget situation with the city and COVID-19, they did let us know for this mid-year budget that there would be no cover funds. Now, I believe it was last year's mid-year budget that the commission asked for some money for the collection, which we did get. But this time, our situation, so we estimated our budget this year on savings of about $120,000 with thinking we would just be closed in July and August with takeout only. And then we have the two frozen full-time positions, which is the tech services position and the clerk position. Because we've stayed closed a lot longer, we did sort of an estimate on if we stay closed through July 1st, we would save about $370,000 in part-time savings. That's if we stay closed through July 1st. We are going to be down, if we stay closed through the rest of the year, about $40,000 in our projected revenues, because obviously we're not making a lot of fine money right now. So we decided to ask for $50K out of those projected savings for the collection. So we'll see if we're granted that. And then if that gets moved into the collection, for instance, we can beef up. I'm going to talk about Overdrive later, but we can beef that up more in our digital offerings some more. And then we do have a bunch of extra supply money. So we actually took some of that to buy some more of the make and take kits for kids. The Kiwanis have been making really nice ones for us, but we were able to purchase more so we can add an additional make and take kit every month. But, hopefully we'll get some more money for the collection that way.
Okay, any comments on that or questions? Any e-comments on the subject of mid-year budget?
There are no public comments or attendees for this item.
Thank you. Commissioner Koopman?
I just want to get clarification. You said we had to ask permission to use our own money?
Well, yeah, to move it from one object category to another.
Thank you. I think I asked that question last time about just moving, and so you're clarifying that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so the city manager has to sign off on that. Now, given that, you know, this is not a great budgetary moment in time, I don't know if they'll say, no, we need that money, you know, we need that money because we're, you know, we have a shortfall. So who knows? But hopefully we will get some more money for the collection.
And is he allowed to transfer that money into a different department budget?
Well, I mean, I imagine that they can do whatever they want. I mean, sometimes when you're working for a city department, for instance, they'll say, we're freezing your funds. You can't spend any more money because we are facing a shortfall, for instance. So really anything can happen.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, Director Anderson, to the fiscal year 2021-22 budget, which seems tied to the other.
It's already that time again, which is crazy. So last year, the commission wrote a letter very early on. I think you guys wrote it over the holidays, asking for several items in the budgetary process. And then, of course, COVID hit and everything changed by the time they got that letter. But because I put the kind of schedule, the budget schedule in here, and, you know, typically we'd be having a meeting in April and a meeting in June. So if the commission is going to write a letter, ideally, you know, we'd have something maybe for April to look at and either finalize, or people will give more input and then we bring it back in June to finalize, and we at least have it ready to give to council in June at the latest. So I wanted to go ahead and get this on the, you know, on the agenda. And I did all of our new commissioners, I believe I sent them all the letter you all wrote last year because it was such a great letter, and I think it was a good encapsulation of sort of where we are and what we're facing at the library. And if you recall the things that were asked for, our tech services position is vacated. So it was to fill that position. It was asking for an additional librarian in addition to that position that was vacated. It asked for a permanent allocation of $50,000 to the collection, $8,000 for some technology increases, and I believe with the additional librarian, some extra funds to open North Branch on Fridays. So the tech services position, and we have a clerk position that have remained frozen. All the positions that were vacant during last year's budget were up for elimination. The city council voted to just keep them frozen. So they're probably going to be up for elimination again this budget. So there we are. Just want to open this up for discussion now.
Commissioner Nafisi.
I mean, I could throw out a suggestion, and then that gives a starting place.
Yeah, Commissioner Nafisi.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, actually, throw out the suggestion, then I'll go after that.
All right.
I want to hear. Yeah.
Okay, and then you guys can, you know, totally reject this or rewrite or whatever you want to do. But I mean, one suggestion is to kind of take last year's letter, you know, ask for the collection money again, maybe at least ask for the tech services position at minimum to remain frozen rather than eliminated. I don't know if you want to ask for the additional position. It's unlikely, but sometimes, you ask for more. And possibly the money for the tech increases.
Go ahead, Commissioner Nafisi.
So first, I wanted to apologize for coming on as Comrade Nafisi, which is my son's name, because he was on my phone doing Zoom. So sorry. And in my effort to sign on fast, I have a different name, so apologize. Two, I don't know, given the year, it's coronavirus year, and we have these, significant reduction in, funds and revenue, if, this year's ask is a different ask. And I'm just talking out loud just to kind of be thinking, if this year's ask is a different ask, considering the environment, we know that revenue is down, and we know the city has asked you guys to make cuts. Does it make sense to ask for these additional positions given the environment? And I'm kind of side with you and err on the side of caution to ask the city to keep them frozen rather than just taking them away, so that once funds become available, that they can kind of get revived. But I would love to know anyone else's view as well.
I will say, usually in February, I start writing our goals because we have to include like our major projects for the budget. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to have to write them assuming that starting July 1st, we are going to be open and back to business, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all. I'll put my hand down.
Commissioner Walz. Commissioner Walz, you're on mute.
And nobody had an objection to what I said. Commissioner Anderson, I completely agree with, and Commissioner Director Anderson and Commissioner Nafisi, I agree with what you're saying about keeping those positions frozen. I think we're in an environment now where we're optimistic about vaccines, we're optimistic about people coming back to services that they've missed or becoming more comfortable with services that they previously enjoyed. And so I think with that, we can naturally assume that there will be an uptick in activity, and to be able to at least, re-request that we hire those positions, I think would be easier and simpler if they were frozen and not eliminated. And so if you need help with that, or however, I wasn't around for the last letter, so I don't know what that process was, but very happy to help with that.
So Commissioner Walz, what we did last time is we appointed a couple of folks to own the letter and bring it back to the commission, and we reviewed it as a group. So we didn't have the group edit the letter per se, but we had a couple people edit the letter, and then the commission reviewed it and tweaked it and then submitted it. Commissioner Worsing?
I like the idea of taking off from last year's letter, since that one didn't really get very far. I would suggest maybe adding a paragraph at the beginning talking about what the library was able to accomplish during, COVID, that we did provide as many services as possible, and we had some surveys looking at what people want. So just add to last year's letter with some current information about, we realize the budgets are tight, but there is definitely a demand for our services, as has been seen over the last year.
That's a good idea. I'm happy to provide, some information for that. That's a good idea.
So maybe someone would like to make a motion to have a subgroup from the Library Commission work on the letter before our next meeting? And maybe nominate, or maybe someone can volunteer?
So I'm happy
Commissioner Nafisi? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Walz, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
No, I'm kidding. I was going to say, I think that as long as the example letter from last time and the relevant information is available, I'm happy to coordinate and kind of drive the process. I don't know who else should.
So maybe Commissioner Walls, you want to make a motion?
So I make a motion that we draft a letter for the 2021-2022 budget. I am volunteering to head up. How's that?
That's awesome.
I'm new to this.
No, that's awesome.
We want a second person maybe to,
Yeah, well, so can we get is there a second for that motion and then maybe some discussion on it?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Hannon seconds. So let's discuss the motion on the table. Commissioner Koopman?
I just want to get clarification what we're asking for.
So I believe Commissioner Wall's motion was that she would lead, maybe her and what other commissioner I think is open for discussion, but she would take the lead to work with Director Anderson to take last year's letter, add an opening paragraph talking about our past accomplishments and making the request for the 2021-2022 fiscal. I meant in terms of what will actually be in the body of the letter. What are we actually? Okay, good. Yes, so we didn't discuss that. So,
Yeah,
was that a question, or are you asking Director Anderson for a recommendation, or?
well, we had a couple people, it sounded like we had a couple people say to ask that the two positions just remain frozen rather than eliminated. That was one. And I'm getting the impression just that and not asking for an additional position this year. And then the collection money is the question.
And
Any discussion on that?
was
Go ahead, Commissioner Walls.
there also a line item or an item for technology upgrades?
There was.
And that was $8,000 for increases to our Wi-Fi and Envisionware, which is our printing management software.
Commissioner Koopman?
I'm looking at last year's letter.
Mhm.
And considering our numbers, given our digital media, right, that was in tonight's packet, I think we have the strongest case for asking for more money for our electronic media in terms of all our subscription services. So I probably would tend to, I personally would like to focus on that. I mean, and do make the request. I do like freezing the positions as opposed to eliminating positions because we don't want to eliminate any position, obviously. But if we can just make a huge emphasis on having money come to the budget for a collection, but primarily for digital media. Only because the numbers are just, double, in some cases double, if not, over last year.
So Commissioner Koopman, the motion on the table from Commissioner Walls is that she would lead it. We could amend that motion to include your input if you'd be so inclined.
Andrew, you and I worked on this last year. You're not being very nice.
All right. Is there someone else that would like to join Commissioner Walls?
I don't mind helping, but I would like to give our new commissioners an opportunity to do it. I mean, I definitely can give this to you, to anyone. I mean, we went through so many iterations. I think I have the final iteration, right?
And I have that
Director
too.
Anderson has it as well.
Yeah. So if
Commissioner Worsing?
I'm happy to help. It looks like Commissioner Hall is also happy to help. So all the newbies are willing to take what you very seasoned people put together last year with some additions and adjustments for your consideration.
Well, so Commissioner Worsing, or Commissioner Hall, did you want to add the same, or?
I just was going to say the same thing. I'm happy to help as well.
So, Director Anderson, can we have 3 people on a subcommittee? Is there any limitation, or is it?
I think as long as the subcommittee is less than half of the commission,
Yes.
that should be fine.
Okay, that's less than half. So, I don't know. Is there a?
Wait, Commissioner Nafisi, am I wrong? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have 5 people, including me, right?
We have,
I'm sorry, on the commission, we have
six. No, we have 6 people. We have 6 people. So if 3 people were
7.
together,
we have 7, right?
7.
we have 7 now.
Mhm.
So yeah, 3 should be fine because that's
Okay.
not enough to make a voting
Okay.
block. Yeah.
Commissioner Koopman, do you want to say something? I see your hands up.
No, that was me forgetting to put it down.
Okay, all good. So maybe does someone want to amend Commissioner Wall's motion to include Commissioner Worsing and Commissioner Hall?
I'll make the motion to amend Commissioner Wall's motion to include Commissioner Worsing, Commissioner Hall, and Commissioner.
And Commissioner Wall's already
Just
in.
those 2.
Just
Yeah,
those
yeah,
2.
okay. Really, all the newbies. Congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. So the motion and the amended motion on the table is for Commissioner Walls, Commissioner Worsing, Commissioner Hall to work on the letter that we did last year for our next commission meeting. Let's see, I'm going to try and catch the discussion here. We're going to add an opening letter. We're going to talk about freezing the position, and we're going to focus on the collection from a digital perspective.
What about the technology and technology?
And technology. We'll throw that in. So that's the motion on the table with the amendment. Commissioner Koopman?
What?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Nafisi?
Yes, sorry.
Yes. Commissioner Hannon?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
And Commissioner Worsing?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So that motion passes, and I look forward to reading your letter at the next meeting.
So I will send the letter again to Commissioner, maybe initially to Commissioner Walls with a paragraph about what we've been doing during the closure, and then she can send a draft to Commissioners Worsing and Hall for their input, and then you get it in the next packet.
Thank you. Are there any e-comments on this topic?
No.
Okay, so the last item on the agenda before member item and referrals to staff is the director's report.
Okay. Just making sure there's no e-comments. No. Okay. So several things from the director's report. One of the items you'll see on November 23rd is that the Overdrive Sora app was turned on. So that is an app within Overdrive that allows us to share our collection with Redondo Union School District. And the kids can, even if they don't have an RBPL library card, they can access those materials through their school ID. So we did have some RB digital funds that we could put towards Overdrive, but we have concentrated on teen and children's materials initially because of that Sora app. The digital magazines from RB Digital are all moving over to Overdrive tomorrow. And if we get this 50,000 extra funds during the mid-year process, we will also try to beef up the adult offerings on Overdrive as well, because I think that the magazines are going to drive more people there, and the streaming channels are the next thing that's going to move over to Overdrive. I don't know if they're going to be on the app or not, but if they are, that's just going to drive more people there. So we'll probably just keep the Cloud Library app and the Overdrive app like we used to have Cloud Library and RB Digital. On November 24th, we did implement automatic card renewals. So people probably aren't feeling it that much right now because we keep extending the expiration dates on the cards while we're closed. But what it means is if your card is about to expire within 6 months, if you check out a physical item, meaning that you are probably still living nearby somewhere, your card will automatically renew for another 3 years without you having to bring in your proof of residency and your ID and all that. So it should really be much more convenient for our patrons and also cut down on some of the clerical tasks. On November 24th, also finally the novelist read-alikes feature was added to our catalog. That was something that Chairperson Beauchamp suggested several years ago, and we finally implemented it. On December 1st, 2 of our librarians did complete spending of another $5,000 grant from the state library for digital materials due to libraries being closed. On December 8th, our youth services librarian had a Zoom meeting with Dance One, the ballet program in Redondo Beach, because they are going to start doing a monthly virtual story time. So, and that's going to start this month in February. So our library app, I'm just sad to report that it's taking so long to come to fruition here. The story on that is we used to have an app called Boopsy. The company just stopped supporting the app, so we did not renew with them. But the sort of implementation of this new app is taking longer than expected. And I actually just had they were bought by OCLC, and I just had a Zoom meeting with one of the executives at OCLC about how long it's taking to get this app. But I began testing it on my Android phone on December 11th, and this past week, they had to work through Apple to release the testing for the rest of my staff who all have Apple phones and iPads and such. But they did get that going this past week, so they've been testing it on their devices. On December 17th, our youth services librarian completed a New Year's reading challenge on Beanstack, which has now been released for this month. So it's sort of like the summer reading program, but it's a winter reading program that people can log the amount that they're reading for prizes. So that's going on this entire month. And in addition to some of the programs I have listed under the February calendar, we did bring a part-time teen librarian back who started doing teen make and takes and a teen book club. She just got a full-time job, but she is coming in this week to put the rest of the make and takes for the following months together, and we are looking for a replacement for her to take over the teen book club. On February 11th, the virtual story times with Redondo Ballet Company start. And on February 9th, we have another adult book discussion. On our statistics, I realized that in order to try to condense them to one page, our program statistics fell off. So I just brought those separately. And in November, we had 7 youth programs with a total of 610 views. And we passed out 160 make and take Kiwanis craft kits. And then in December, there were 5 youth programs with 343 views, and 180 Kiwanis craft kits were passed out. And we had in November a meditation program for adults with 14 attendees. And then the book discussion in December had 3 attendees. And then we've also started the help programs for seniors again this month. So, we're trying to get back to getting just sort of a regular roster of programs going. And also, so I usually include this annual report from Hoopla Digital, and for our new commissioners, so we have all these digital products. 2 of them, which is Canopy and Hoopla, are pay per use, which means we don't pay anything unless people use them. And every time they watch a movie on Canopy or they, read an ebook on Hoopla or listen to an e-audio on Hoopla, we have to pay per use. And on Hoopla, that can be anywhere from like $1 to $4 per use. So Hoopla gives us this nice breakdown of how it's being used every year. And, you know, it's interesting because audiobooks and ebooks are by far audiobooks and ebooks are by far what's being used the most on Hoopla. The music, television, movies are actually a small percentage of what's being used on there. I really like Hoopla because, I mean, we spend a lot of money on it, but so often when I look up something in our catalog, if it's just a little bit off the beaten path, we only have it in Hoopla. So I would be really sad to lose it because it really covers like so many holes in our collection. And if you look at the unique titles, let's see. So in Hoopla, there were 11,000 titles, or 73% of the collection that circulated only once. So what that means is, now we might have that title physically in our collection, but if we don't, what that means is only one person wanted this item one time, and they were able to get it and use it, and we didn't have to buy it for that one use. And if you look at the circulation by price point, you know, it's typically the lower price points that are circulating by percentage, which if we wanted to, it's interesting because the only way to cut down what you're spending on Hoopla is either to do it by price point, which isn't going to super help us because it's mostly the lower price points that are circulating, or you can lower the amount that people can check out per month. But most people are under that amount. It's just that we have so many people using it. So that doesn't really help us either. I think you might be able to do it by item type, although I'm not sure if that's an option. But anyway, all of these vendors, I will say, are all trying to compete with one another. And Hoopla is now offering metered use, which is how our other vendors work. And I think our other vendors are starting to offer pay-per use. So they are all definitely in intense competition with each other. And I imagine there's going to be further changes as we go along.
Thank you, Director Anderson. Commissioner Koopman?
So going back to the app, the Redondo app, I know that LAPL was using Bootsy also.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I noticed that their app is not Bootsy. I mean, it's a little similar, but they definitely have a better interface now. Do you know?
Is it called Capira? Does it say Capira on it?
Let me see. I can't tell.
I think LAPL might be Capira. That's what we went with, Capira. As we're testing it, we're happy with everything except the search function doesn't seem to be working great, like searching the catalog. So that's what we're mostly logging in as errors. We went with Capira also because we thought it was going to be less expensive than Cersei Dynex. It turned out we had to get some Cersei Dynex components to make it compatible. So now maybe that's not going to be true. And in some ways, if we'd gone with Cersei Dynex, maybe we would actually have an app right now. But we do like a lot of the features of Capira, and it does look great in many ways. So, and I think it is what LAPL uses.
Thank you.
An award, actually. Capira just won an award for their app, but I think they've gotten a lot of business because of because you can do, it has a curbside pickup appointment thing in it. And I think they've gotten a lot of business from all the closures. And so they may just be struggling to keep up now.
Commissioner Worsing?
Yeah, is there an ETA? I know that you mentioned that it's taking longer than expected, and you're testing, the staff is now testing it. Is there an ETA for having it up and available to the public?
Well, when I said I was on the phone with the executive last week, he said he was going to call me back in a month.
Okay.
I will say that the friends pay for the app, and the payment does not kick, even though they've already paid for it, the clock does not start ticking on the payment until the app is available.
So at least a month,
Yeah.
probably more like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, I mean, the reason I would love to have this app available is because our website is not really responsive to mobile devices. I mean, you can use it, but it's not a responsive website.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the digital vendors have their own app, but still it's nice to have, one library app.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Worsing. I had a question, Director Anderson, about Hoopla. I was wondering if because I was kind of expecting, well, for example, Cloud Library is doubled, and I know, like you said, Hoopla is based on the number of clicks. Why didn't it go up? Is it because we throttled it, or is it because it just seems odd that
It sort of stayed steady. I think it was. It's gone up over the history since we've had it, which has been, since probably 2015 or when I got it pretty early after starting here. So we've had it maybe at least 4 years or more. And it had gone up pretty steadily, but it has kind of plateaued, which, again, it's sort of like with Canopy, it's kind of a niche. I think Canopy has sort of a niche audience, but again, we're only paying for what's being used.
Yeah.
No. So.
Okay. I was surprised. I was curious because I would have expected, because of the pandemic, that would be a pickup in Hoopla, and there wasn't. The other thing I was just noticing, right, is the drop in circulation of physical, obviously is substantial, and it's almost like the digital didn't fill that gap. I mean, obviously it's increased, but not to the level. And then arguably magazines, we wouldn't even capture that information because people would go in the library and they'd read the magazines and then put them back on the shelf. Is there, I don't know if we want to stimulate demand, especially for Hoopla, given the budgets, but I mean, is there, I don't know, just thinking out loud, is there a lack of awareness, or do you have a point of view on that?
I do post things about Hoopla on Facebook, but in the past we've always been like, don't advertise because we're already at like more than 50,000 a year for Hoopla.
Yeah.
It is, again, our commissioners may not know this, but Hoopla those items are in our library catalog. Canopy items are not. But Hoopla items are in our catalog. So the way I usually come across items in Hoopla is I'm looking for something I want, and it comes up that it's in Hoopla,
Yeah.
So that may be how people are using it more than just going on Hoopla and seeing what's available, because that's definitely how I use it. The thing about the physical items is that, we were open to the public. A lot of our items were out because we were open, and then we extended the due dates. And when we started takeout, I believe we started the renewal of those items. So we had all those items that were out, and they were all renewing and everything. Well, eventually, they all came back, and now the circ stats are just reflecting what people are getting during takeout, which is a lot less, than if our doors were open and people were in the library. Now, one of the things, Glendora had a patio open where they had some books out for browsing, which is something that they closed it back down when COVID went back up. That situation's reversing a little bit recently, although we're still in the purple tier, but that may be something. We did try putting new books on carts inside the windows for people to see, like right inside the lobby. We just had to move those today because of a fire hazard at Maine, but I think where they are at North is right by the table, and they've actually been going really fast, just asking for stuff off the carts. So we can experiment a little bit more with that, maybe even getting to a point where we could put some of those outside for people to browse. But yeah, we just don't, we're just, the physical had just gone down since we've been closed.
Is there any more discussion on the director report? Are there any, Commissioner Nafisi?
I just wanted to say thanks so much for adding more activities and going out of your way to find more things to do, and I appreciate it. So I know last time we talked, so it was really great that you've really sort of beefed up, for lack of a better word, the things that you guys are working on and looking at these untraditional partners like the Kiwanis Club to make and take kits. It's really great. I think we just kind of have to work with what we got, and I think you're doing a wonderful job. So
thank you. And our adult programming coordinator has reached out to BCHD. They've been doing some programs just with the city as a partner in general, like they just did one on, or they had, I think it already occurred on vaccines. And so we've been just cross promoting that as well and putting it on our calendar.
Great, thank you.
Yep, thank you, Commissioner Nafisi. We agree. Thank you, Director Anderson. Are there any e-comments on the director's report?
No, there are no public e-comments or attendings for this item.
Thank you. Are there any member items and referrals to staff? All right. Does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanna.
Do we want to, the date is April 5th.
Yeah, the next commission meeting is April 5th. Yep, the first Monday of the 2 months from now. Is there a second to adjourn?
I'll make the second.
Thank you. That was, I'm sorry, Commissioner Coop?
Candace Nafisi.
Hey, Commissioner Nafisi, thank you. All right.
Or Comrade Nafisi.
Comrade, as you are tonight. All right. Commissioner Koopman, motion to adjourn, do you approve?
Yes.
Commissioner Hannan?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Worsing?
Yes.
All right. Thank you to our new commissioners for taking on that task before our next meeting. And have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.